The reason why shortcuts kill momentum. That's our conversation today on the podcast. Let's jump in. BJ O'Neill here with the Business Coaching Success Podcast. So glad you're here, where I share with you strategies, tools, and tips to be able to grow your business coaching practice to six figures and beyond as a Christian business coach. Let's jump in. Welcome. Glad that you are here and joining us on this episode of the podcast where you're going to learn a lot. And specifically, now I will tell you, this has a moment, an opportunity to step on your toes a little bit or to step on someone's toes. That's not the goal, but the outcome can be that. But I'm okay with that if that gives you motivation, if that adds value, if that wakes you up, if that gives you an aha moment, then I am absolutely good with that. Depending upon where you are in your business coaching journey, if this is your first podcast you've listened to or episode that is, or you've listened to a few and you're just kind of checking things out, you're wanting to learn more about what we do in giving seasoned Christian professionals a complete turnkey platform, a business coaching platform, you just want to know more. If you haven't done so, you can go to businesscoachmastery.com. That's businesscoachmastery.com. There's some information there. You can book what we call an Explore the Systems chat and really learn exactly what we do to determine if it's really a fit for you or not during this season that you're in and what you're looking to do. All right. The shortcut illusion. And it is just that. And there's a reason why I bring it up. Because after, I don't know, the last 5 years of working with, oh goodness, hundreds of coaches, there's a common theme that happens. And when it happens, there's 100% of the same outcome and result. And what I mean by that is there's this idea with those that, and I'm not just talking about business coaching. I'm mostly talking about the psychology of what happens to us when we're looking to circumvent process. Now, let me be very clear. I am not referring to, get my word out there, to efficiency. Like we know that there's oftentimes a better way or a more efficient way to some degree to a process. I'm not referring to that. I'm referring to when we have this idea, especially when we've never seen success before. And we look at a system, we look at a process, and we're like, oh, well, if we just had this, or if it had that, then it would be easy to be successful. It's like I'll go back to the whole business coaching part of it. If they had a certain kind of script that we didn't have or that didn't exist, or a different tool, if you took the tool and you changed it, if there was if the tool looked different, had different colors and was rearranged. And every time I hear things like that, they're always 100% of the time from people who have never gotten a client in their life. And this would be the same thing for a lot of different industries, by the way. I hear it in real estate. I hear it in insurance, you name it. Well, if they would just do it this way, then I could be able to sell. If they would just do it that way, then I'd be successful and whatever. And here's what's actually happening. This is you can actually study this further if you so choose to want to do that. We won't be able to do all of that in our 15 minutes or so of time together. But it's an internal desire, and it's actually getting worse because of social media. And by that, I just mean that there's just more to view to get us thinking like this. But it's this idea that if I could just cut corners, if there was a shortcut, I could be successful. And again, I cannot stress, I am one of the first at the line of the word efficiency. I'm constantly with our team, I'm constantly talking about, is there a more efficient way? That's not a shortcut. So take that aside. I'm talking about when we've yet to find success, we believe that if the tools will change, if this was changed, if that was changed, that was different, a newer this, then I could be successful. So we're going to look at 4 different reasons and purposes, and mostly reasons as to why people chase shortcuts to start with. And these are life lessons to some degree. The first is discomfort with delayed results. Most people don't quit because something's broken. They quit because the speed, or I should say that maybe it's not quitting, but they have a desire to want it to change because the speed of it is not what they want. Why? Because it is pretty normal, especially in today's culture, to want to get there faster than what the process actually allows. A couple of years ago, my daughter, who's now in high school at that time in middle school, her and her friends, you may have heard this term with your kids or grandkids, bedazzling. Lots of young girls do that. It's a lot of fun. It's a crafty kind of thing, and they would do this on all kinds of things, shirts, shoes, and just made it for fun. And so several of them got together, and one of their friends, who typically doesn't enjoy the process of sitting down and going through a process, because bedazzling, if you don't know, it's I could never do it, by the way. It's slow and methodical. You're taking small little beads and you're placing them in a row, one after one. Matter of fact, they cheer together and they actually bedazzled a megaphone for the coach. And if you saw this thing, it took them days, hours. There's no chance I have the patience to do that. So, one of the friends that never wants to do this because she just, she probably like me doesn't want to sit down and slow her brain down that much. I want to participate. There's, are you sure? Yes. So they get together in one of their room. I forgot whose house they were at, and they get all the stuff out and they begin to do it. And they weren't 15 minutes in, and the one friend goes, "Hey, do y'all want to go and get ice cream, or do you want to turn on a movie, or all these different things?" And it was just like, no, we got to follow the process. And she's like, "Yeah, but it's just taking too long." Super, super normal, by the way, of the idea and thought, right? But business coaching, as it is in a lot of professional cycles, requires a set of things: having conversations, adding value, following up, meeting with multiple people, maybe on their team, demonstrating, competence, demonstrating clarity and a path, staying consistent, all these things. But when someone's just not seeing, results, we'll call it in, 30, 60 days or for whatever reason, even results like after you've been coaching for a while, there you might want to expand, add more clients, or maybe you lost a client or two, whatever. Their brain interprets slow as wrong. And we have this idea in our minds that if it's wrong, then something's wrong with the process, the tools, the systems, or whatever, and it becomes uncomfortable. And if you look at and you perhaps have been in a sales environment to some degree, sales environments the same way. You get somebody who's got, X amount of leads to call on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever, right? And there's a monotony to it if you look at it the wrong way. And it's not monotony, it's called the process. And if you understand the process correctly, you will more likely fulfill the process. But we get through day one, half of the day two goes by, and it's like, man, nobody's picking up the phone. Whether it's cold outreach with email or text or whatever, no one's responding back. No one's replying back. There's something, I bet if it was done differently, if my sales manager had a different script, if we could use that service, blah, 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 blah. Yet, there's just been, we've not allowed the cake enough time in the oven to actually fulfill its completion, right? And so we're psychologically, unfortunately, wired to avoid uncertainty. And when the process is taking longer than we believe, even though we don't have the facts sometimes, or we believe the facts are wrong, even though everybody follows a set of number of rules to get to get it done. For instance, again, if the cake takes 30 minutes at 400 degrees, and we're like, well, it should take 20 minutes. Well, it's like, no, process has proven that that's not true. But we believe it should be done that way, and then we get derailed and so on. So discomfort is one. Two, this is a big one. Novelty. Novelty feels like progress, meaning anytime we make a shift in the tool, the resources, the platform, the color, the shape, whatever it is, we get a new hit of dopamine. Like and if I'm being very transparent and vulnerable, um, yeah, I love reading books. Unfortunately, one of the problems is I like to read too many of them at the same time. And after several days, I get distracted with other projects and things. And if you look in a lot of the books that I read, not so much as these, because these are the ones that I like the most, but many of them, you get half or you 75% of the way in, and you'll stop seeing highlights. Why? I didn't finish the book. Why? A different title on a book appeared. It could have been in my stream, my feed. I went to the bookstore. I love going to the bookstore. It's just a place where I get a lot of ideas. And it's like, then the other new book title comes out. Oh, that's one I should read. That'll solve a problem. But this happens. New CRM, new funnel, new script, new positioning, new niche, new ad strategy. And look, let me be very, 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 very clear. There are times and necessities to make changes. I am not referring to that. I'm referring to when we're not fulfilling the process. We're not listening to wisdom. We're not listening to those who've gone there, been there, done, especially those who will call them, if not legit experts, they certainly have the results of building success, but we believe there's a different way to do it, even though we've never seen an ounce of success in that area in our life. But here's the problem. Every time we make a change, a shift, a pivot, we got to relearn systems, rebuild momentum, restart confidence. And what that does is that just compounds in delay. And all you're doing is pushing the goal line down the field. I am not referring to you, though, if you're walking through the process you've been doing, it's not working. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to this hesitancy, or not hesitancy, excuse me, this feeling that if it were different, even though I've never experienced success, if it were different, it should be X. Third, ego protection. This is a deeper one. If the system doesn't work, not my fault. It's the tool. If the script is wrong, it's not my skill. It's the words. If the tool is outdated, it's not my discipline. If it was updated, it would be different. Blaming the framework protects identity. Well, if the framework was different, then I could totally get bought into it more, and I'd be more compelling. People would sense that more. But the uncomfortable truth is this: most of us don't fail because the system is flawed. We fail because we don't execute. We fail because we don't execute on time. We fail because we don't execute long enough. Progress and time matter. I mean, you put a plant in the ground, and depending upon the plant, the season, the type, the region, there's a process to that plant evolving. And just because you don't like it or you believe it should be different doesn't change reality. Last one. Fundamentals build identity. Period. Let's say it again. Fundamentals build identity. There was an episode we did just a few weeks ago on it had a little bit of a racing theme because of the Daytona 500. And my boys, I've got two older boys. We don't watch a ton. We used to, more or less, when they were kids. The movie cars had come out, so kind of it was easy to make the switch. And we've gone to a few races throughout the country for fun, mostly NASCAR. But as of recent, and I was paying attention to this because I like history. As of the recording of this podcast, Tyler Reddick, who drives for Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin in the NASCAR Cup Series. For the first time in history, he won the first 3 races of the season. It's never happened since the inception of NASCAR. What's my point? Last year, he had a terrible season. No wins. Just what could go wrong did. What could go wrong did. And so they interviewed Michael Jordan, and they asked the question. He's the car owner, park car owner. And they just said, the offseason, we did the basics. We went back to the fundamentals. We made sure the team was, we're on the same page. And he just goes, he said nothing that, actually, he said everything that he has ever said on a court. Same thing. And does it mean that everyone's going to win every race? No. But the point is, how do you go from one season where it didn't work well into another season where you make history? Who knows what the outcome of the year is going to be? It doesn't matter. He's won 3 in a row. It's hard enough to win in major sports, period, no matter what you do. To win 3 times in a row in a sport like that's like winning a PGA a tournament on the PGA Tour in a row. Extremely difficult to do. The best of the best rarely ever achieve that. So what is the point? We watched those who've gone before us. This is a new team. They own 3 cars. It's a new team, and they're bringing in experts. Michael Jordan's never been in the sport before. Here he's winning. Why? Because he's watching others, learning from the best, implementing. Sure, there might be a few things here or there. Again, they've got champions on their team, and consultants feeding in. People on their pit crews have been in other places before and they've won championships. So they've got the pedigree that has voice. They've been there before, but they're still doing what's required. They're not attempting to just change it because they believe if I follow that protocol, I'm not going to be successful. Let's change it. And that's why. And you'll hear this in just about every sports setting in the world. They will tell you going back to the basics and the fundamentals is where the success is at. So here's my point to you. And I'm speaking to myself as much as I am speaking to anyone. This idea, you scroll on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever, and you see the latest, greatest, that's going to be what's going to solve my problem. I mean, look, somebody could have lost 30 to 50 pounds 25, 35, 40 years ago, the same way you could do it today. Caloric deficit, move your body more. There's obviously a lot more to it, but in summary, but yet we get bought into the fads. We've seen them, you've heard them, you probably have been on. And stop looking for the fads. Stop looking for the shortcuts. Stop looking for the thing that I don't have to go through trial and tribulation over. Actually, it is the trials that will build you and help you and mold you, not only on what not to do. It'll just build your character, what you're made of, what you can achieve. There's nothing like it, being able to go through a season and you get on the other side and you finally, you're getting momentum and win and you're behind you, where it felt like I was just, against. And it's the only thing to do it again tomorrow. I don't know how I can make it work. Find the way. It's there. Okay. So that is a message to you, regardless of what season that you're in or a season you might be coming into. I believe if you'll adapt, the type of idea that says, we're not going to circumvent what we know works, not just from ourselves, but from, just using good wisdom of others, and separating that from efficiency, from improvements, and so on. Okay. Hope that adds value to you today. I get my words out, and we'll go from there. Okay. Until next time, take care.